Remember when we all agreed to have a National Todd McFarlane Day? Didn't we all agree to wear Todd McFarlane masks and wear a giant rapper chain and probably wear a t-shirt that says something like "I hate female characters"? I'm actually still waiting on the day that Todd McFarlane decides to release his own cologne line, because who doesn't want to smell like the Toddster? I kid, but seriously, all jokes aside, today's video, I wanted to talk a little bit about some of his newer releases. There's a lot to dive into, a lot to dissect. McFarlane has definitely been an incredibly busy dude recently, and I wanted to start off with the new Dark Knight tumbler from the Christopher Nolan trilogy. Now, from my understanding, there are supposed to be 2 of these. Now, as of the moment of this recording, there are no pre-orders up, just some promotional images. And I have to say, I'm actually quite excited about these, not personally because I really wasn't that interested in the Dark Knight trilogy universe in terms of action figures. I did love the Christopher Nolan trilogy. It's probably my favorite comic book series of all time, but I just didn't really have the room for it. And I decided to stick more with like classic comic book characters. But I am very excited for people that have jumped into the Dark Knight universe. And I know I just mentioned this in a previous video, but the White Knight Batmobile I thought was somewhat of a bad idea from McFarlane. It's a really deep cut, it's pretty expensive, and there are very few collectors out there that are looking to complete their Dark Knight universe, just because it was not a widely renowned comic book series that everybody was into. It was critically well received, but just not everybody reads comic books, and it's not a classic storyline either. So it was just kind of an interesting choice. I wasn't necessarily against it, I just kind of questioned it. This to me is an absolute home run. You're already a few characters and action figures into this particular universe, and you are releasing 2 versions, which makes perfect sense. You do have the original one that Batman drives around, or Christian Bale's Batman. That one is supposed to be all black, and then you do have the Bane version, which is featured in the Dark Knight Rises. So both definitely make sense. This is really good reuse from McFarlane. Usually I criticize him when he's reusing things really cheaply or not putting forth any effort, but this to me is a perfect example of really good reuse. Both of them look really good. They display incredibly well, and I saw a Bane action figure, which, by the way, I don't remember exactly what the height is on that figure. I don't own it, but I think it's about like 8 inches. That one fits pretty snug into the cockpit of the tumbler, his tumbler, which is the one with the camo on it, but it actually fits in pretty well. I mean, you're not expecting a perfect fit, 1-for-1 ratio, but it's pretty close. It looks like it's going to display incredibly well. So if you're really into the Dark Knight universe from McFarlane, this is a must pick up, at least in my personal opinion. Now, I do have to clarify, for the most part, I avoid talking about anything that hasn't officially gone up for pre-order, or at least we have more details on, but I kind of jumped the gun on this one. There is no official listing as of the moment of this recording, and we don't actually know the price point. It might have gone leaked somewhere around there, but not officially, so I'm going to assume this is around like a $70 to $90 Batmobile. The only thing that we can be happy about is I think these are a wider release from at least the information that I've gotten so far. The camo tumbler, however, will be an Amazon exclusive, which, yes, means that you're probably going to get free shipping, which is something that the White Knight Batmobile did not include. So just mentioning it, not throwing any shade at McFarlane, but it's definitely something that I have to bring up. I'm also not going to dig too deep into this one because, well, you guys already know exactly how I feel about these type of re-releases or repaints. They're lazy. I don't like them, and I'm not really gonna kind of bash this to death. I've already mentioned it in previous videos. I think this is really lazy. They just slap in some glow-in-the-dark paint or some plastic, and then they re-release the exact same figure as a store exclusive. In this particular case, you are again getting an Amazon exclusive, which means free shipping, probably. I'm not sure what the threshold is for free shipping nowadays, unless you have Amazon Prime, but regardless, it's the exact same figure with like new packaging. Sometimes they'll throw in an extra accessory here or there. From the listings that I've seen so far, I haven't really seen anything. And just keep in mind, this does have a $49.99 price point, so it's a little bit higher than the original one, which I believe was $40. So they're marking it up about $10 more just for that glow in the dark feature. If this is your cup of tea, definitely jump in on it. I think it's really lazy, and I'm definitely not into it, but just thought I would bring it up for those people that are really interested. And I will say I like the packaging for some of these store exclusive figures or these like repainted figures. It's really cool. It's very collector friendly. McFarlane knows exactly what he's doing. He knows that the collector community definitely loves those really cool iconic packages, and that's exactly what he did for this particular release. There was also a new pre-order that went up for a new wave that is essentially a part of that digital Build-A-Figure line that McFarlane has been shelling out there. I still don't understand this personally. I have lost complete interest in anything that's digital format, but the figures are there. They're going for $24.99. The pre-order has already gone up. It's supposed to be 3 classic versions of Atom, Green Arrow, and Superman. Now, in terms of Superman, you're essentially getting the exact same body mold that we've seen from that Dark Knight Returns universe. Personally, I'm not really a big fan of that body mold. It's really big, it's beefy, it's hunky, but the articulation is just so lacking. A lot of the joints, because of a lot of the limbs being so thick and bulky, you're just not getting a really good range of motion. So it's really frustrating, but it will come with a brand new paint deco, as well as a new head sculpt, some extra opened hands, and then an eagle that can be posed on his arm. Now, what's really interesting about the eagle, I'm not sure if this is soft plastic or it's semi-articulated, but in one of the images it seems to have the wings kind of like posed in a flight position, whereas in another picture the wings are noticeably lower. So I'm not 100% sure if it's posable or they're just 2 different versions of the eagle, or there was a mistake when the images were taken, or maybe it's all about the angle. Not 100% sure. The Atom version will actually come with a smaller version of the Atom. Obviously it's going to be non-articulated. It's kind of like just a small little stand-in if you want to display him using his powers. He will also come with 2 alternate hands. Pretty decent value when you really stop to think about it. It's $25 extra hands and that extra Atom figure. And by the way, it's not like a miniature version, kind of how they did with Ant-Man. This one is actually, it has some pretty good dimensions. I mean, just from the promotional images, it's probably going to be somewhere maybe like about 3 inches, I want to say. It stands just under the waist of the regular 7-inch Atom. So like I said, it's probably like around 3 inches. Still has some decent girth and obviously some decent paint work. I would not be surprised to see McFarlane reuse this Atom, or I'm not sure if he already has, but reuse this particular Atom for that little 4-inch Page Punchers line. I think it would be a perfect opportunity to get some reuse from it and still give the consumers exactly what they want. We are also getting a Green Arrow action figure. It will include a bow and arrow, and then also that pouch that he carries on his back with extra arrows. And I have noticed that a lot of people have been bashing this figure online. People are really having issues with the proportions for these figures, especially those legs, very thin. I believe they're reused from like a Princess Bride release from McFarlane. I guess he did a wave. I really didn't pay attention. I didn't pick up any of those figures, but like I said, according to the online community, that seems to be the consensus. It's just a really weird looking figure. Personally, I could care less. I'm not really interested in like a classic iteration of these figures. I prefer something that's a little bit more like Rebirth or New 52. That's usually what I prefer anyways, but for those people that are really interested in classic designs, you have 3 figures to pick out from. If your disgusting, dirty, stained whitey tidies are not wet enough from all the phenomenal releases that I've showcased to you guys thus far, then this next reveal definitely should get you hard. And we are talking about the new Darkseid from McFarlane. This is supposed to be based on those Jack Kirby interpretations from way back in the day. Now, I will say personally, I do prefer, as I mentioned earlier, the New 52/Rebirth era with, you know, a little bit of classicness sprinkled on. And that's usually what McFarlane does best. He kind of takes classic characters and really gives it his own twist. But we can't really complain. This is a Darkseid figure for $40. The last few ones that we've received, whether it was Beast Kingdom or the Mezco iteration or any of the older figures, are astronomically high in price. You will be receiving 4 hands total, as well as an alternate head sculpt, one with just his menacing face and then the other one with the Omega beams coming from his eye socket. It's an absolutely breathtaking figure, to say the least. If you guys are interested in this, it has officially sold out. It went up for pre-order on the 28th, but I'm going to assume that it will eventually be brought up in store. I know a lot of the figures that were selling out, for example, at multiple different retailers from the DC multiverse, I have seen quite a few of them at like GameStops and Target. So stay tuned. This will definitely go back up for pre-order. Even if you're remotely interested in this, I highly suggest you pick it up, just because that $40 price point is only going to get higher through the third-party marketplace. I'll be completely honest with you guys, when I make these type of videos, usually there's either a very positive vibe or a negative vibe, but in this one, I think it's a little bit in the middle. There's some great releases for people that have been waiting for certain characters, like for example Darkseid in my case, and there are others that maybe have a small little cult following, like those glow-in-the-dark repainted action figures that are absolute garbage in my opinion, but I know that there are people out there waiting for those. So it's kind of a mixed bag from McFarlane, but at least we can say that there's a little bit for everybody. So let me know your thoughts down below. Very curious to see everybody's thoughts, everybody's opinions on these releases, on these pre-orders. Stay safe out there, continue to enjoy the hobby, and definitely stay tuned. We've been uploading, or kind of upping our consistency a little bit more, so hopefully you guys can watch at least a couple of our videos on a weekly basis. But as always, thank you guys for tuning in. Stay safe out there. I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you.